My name is Rosa Tejeda. I am the Charity First program coordinator, and so my role is basically putting this conference on for you all. So with that being said, how are we feeling? Are we excited? Are you guys looking forward to the workshops? Yeah? Okay, beautiful. So like I said, I'm extremely excited and honored to be in this space with you all. You know, when we originally started planning this event, we really wanted to centralize the identity of being first gen, right? So how many of you all are so proud to be a first generation college student? I don't know, that doesn't sound right. How many of you all are proud to be first generation college students? Can I hear? Right, there we go. Beautiful. So, because of that, like I said, we wanted to put this conference on for you all. I'm so happy to be able to put on this wonderful event for you all. I hope you all enjoyed not only your cool portfolios, but also check out the inside. It has the conference program. It has our new Try First stickers that are so cool. Shout out our student worker Ava for helping us create that. Yep, she did that. And so I also wanted to mention that if you haven't signed up for your headshot, so please do so. We will be having headshots right here in the governor's chamber, so right behind us. So with all that being said, I really want you all to help me welcome our keynote speaker, Oscar Zavala. Oscar grew up in Tijuana, California. He graduated from San Ysidro High School in 2009, and as a first-generation college student himself, he attended UC San Diego, so shout out UC San Diego love, right? That's about to be y'all, is it not? Is it not? Yeah, exactly. So he graduated with his BA in Human Development in 2014, and upon graduating UCSD, Oscar then worked at SDSU, my alma mater, as a student programs manager while completing his master's in public administration in 2019. Currently, Oscar is a leader in the talent acquisition space in the corporate sector. His most recent experience includes serving as a recruiter for HubSpot, which is a fast-growing software company in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and most recently as a recruiting and diversity partnership lead at Microsoft Incorporation. Oscar's goal is to continue growing in the field of people operations with an emphasis on attracting and retaining traditionally underrepresented talent. So with that being said, please help me give Oscar Zavala a warm welcome.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Rosa, for the warm welcome, and thank you, everyone, for the welcome as well. Great. I still get nervous when I do these, so bear with me. So I want to start off by saying how much of an honor it is for me to be here as your keynote speaker. I want to give a special shout out to Josué Pinal from the Career Services Center and to Rosa for putting this event together and bringing us all here to share our stories and our experiences. As a fellow Trident and a UCSD alum, I am thrilled to be back on campus to connect with you this morning. I'm even more excited because this June will mark 10 years since I graduated and I walked across that stage at Readiness. And I have to say, it feels very surreal to be standing here today as a keynote speaker. But more than that, I'm excited because I know firsthand how important it is to have spaces that support first-gen students like us. You know that classic question people ask you about, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Well, as I wrote these lines, I couldn't help but to reflect on the past decade and how those experiences have led me to be here with you all today. Now, when people talk about first gen, there are a lot of different definitions that come up. Some people define it as being the first one in your family to graduate from college, while others include folks that came to the US for an education or whose parents immigrated into this country but attended college in another country. So it really varies who you ask. But what I've learned over the years is that there's no one right way to define this term. What matters the most is how you identify yourself and how you can feel like, how you can benefit from joining communities like this one. That's why my goal today is to share about my journey as a first gen student, and then also now as a professional, and offer some insights and advice that I hope will be helpful. I'll talk about some of the challenges and obstacles I faced during my time here at UCSD, but I'll also share some of the strategies that helped me overcome those challenges. Hopefully, that'll make it easier for you to navigate this journey. Ultimately, my hope is that my story and those insights will inspire and empower all of you to pursue your own dreams and goals. And I know that everyone's journey is different, and I know that your own experiences may be different from mine, but what I want you to take away from this speech is that you are capable of achieving great things, and that there are communities like this one that are here to support you along the way. So I want to share a bit about my own journey as a first-gen student here at UCSD. For me, this identity was shaped by a number of different factors. Growing up, I spent my childhood in Tijuana, where I lived with my mom along with my 5 siblings. My family was divided by a border because my dad was living and working in the US to support our family. When I was 13, my mom, my sister, and I came to the US to live with my dad. That was the first of many transitions I would have to experience as an immigrant to this country. From there, I was the first one in my family to attend and graduate from high school. I went to San Ysidro High School, undergraduate here at UCSD, and eventually graduate school at San Ysidro. And I was also the first one to eventually pursue a professional career and join the corporate world. I've learned that being first gen isn't just about the milestones we reach. It's also about the experiences and the challenges that shape us along the way. For me, that meant learning how to navigate this country and a culture at a young age. I remember having to learn English in basic phrases like, how much does this cost? Just so that I could help my mom with grocery shopping. I also remember being trusted with our rent checks as a little kid, which meant learning how to spell out numbers and double checking to make sure that I didn't add an extra zero by mistake. These may seem like small things, but these are the kinds of experiences that some of us first gens have to learn how to do. Many of us have to learn how to be resourceful, independent, and resilient from a very young age. And while you can't really list these skills on a resume, these are the ones that help us succeed in life. For me, being first gen always meant being able to figure it out. It means constantly learning, adapting, and pushing myself to do better. And I truly believe that this mindset has helped me in every aspect of my life, from my education to my career to my personal relationships even. Being a student at UCSD, being a student at UCSD says a lot about you, but being a first-gen student at an institution like this one says even more. What some may not see are all the challenges and hoops we need to jump through to reach these goals. For example, let's talk about the pressure that many first-year college students face when it comes to achieving success. In my experience, since I came to the US, I was in middle school, I felt this unspoken pressure to be a good student, to get good grades, and to act as a role model for my younger sister. I knew that by setting a positive example for her, I could pay my parents back for the sacrifices they made to bring us here. As first-year students, we often carry the weight of our family's expectations on our shoulders, even if they're not explicitly said. We may feel like we have to be perfect, to never make mistakes, to always be best. And while the pressure can be a powerful motivator, it can also be incredibly daunting. But here's the thing. I learned along the way that you don't have to be perfect. That you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all figured out. We are allowed to make mistakes, to stumble, and to fail. That's what being a first-gen student is all about. It's about taking risks, pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone, and learning from your failures. I know from my personal experience how difficult it can be to navigate these expectations, but I also know that it is possible to find that balance. Over the years, I've learned how important it is to prioritize my own physical and mental health. And my advice is for you to leverage the resources available to you on campus, such as the Counseling and Psychological Services, Student Wellness Center, Student Health Services Center, amongst others. I can say that my experience as an incoming first year here at UCSD was a bit unique. I was privileged to have participated in the Summer Bridge Transition Program, where I was surrounded by students who came from underrepresented backgrounds or backgrounds similar to mine. And many of them were also first-generation students. This allowed me to gain a strong sense of belonging, and where I also built a strong network that still supports me today. Are there any Summer Bridge students in the house? Nice. But little did I know that reality looked completely different to me when fall semester came around. As a Latino student, I was struck by the lack of diversity on campus. Not only that, but I also didn't see that many faculty that looked like or spoke like me, unfortunately. At times, this made me feel isolated and left out, despite the strong network I had built during the summer. This is what eventually led me to seek out more safe spaces where I felt like I belonged. For example, I signed up to live in the multicultural housing during my second year. I also became involved with Mecha, with Spaces, and Oasis, and I even became a founder of Phi Iota Alpha, a new Latino fraternity on campus back then. All that with the goal in mind to foster the inclusion of others like me. I can say that unfortunately, not all students were lucky enough to have that support system. I saw how many of my peers struggled and fell behind, with some that transferred to colleges closer to home because they had a hard time adapting to the campus climate, and some who ended up in academic probation, leading to dismissal from the university. So as you navigate this transition, it is important to make your home away from home, whatever that may mean to you. It's important to rely on your support system, seek out communities that share your background and experiences, or get involved with the many resource centers on campus. So while this may not be the case for all first-gen students, another challenge that I came across when I came to UC San Diego, and which I still deal with today, is grappling with the concept of privilege. See, for me, coming from a low-income community and a low-income household to now living in La Jolla with luxurious amenities, fancy singing trees, getting to eat at all-you-care-to-eat dining halls, but at the same time, getting in student debt, buying those $200 course books, or paying to live in an overpriced triple. See, this was often what had me questioning if I was supposed to be here. Not because I didn't think I deserved it, but because I surely worked hard for it. But because I felt like I was living in two realities constantly. I was grateful for the opportunities that college had afforded me, but at the same time, I couldn't help but to feel guilt that my mom and my sister were back home. One thing that made things easier was learning about my peers' experiences and realizing that I was not the only one going through this transition. There were others who shared similar sentiment, and that's where I found support. It was also during my undergrad years here at UCSD that I worked for the Oasis academic transition program, where I had the privilege of mentoring first-year summer bridge students as an ATC. I was humbled to learn that many of our students in our program faced challenges that were far difficult than my own. From growing up in the foster care system to some living in toxic home environments, and then there were others who luckily came from more privileged situations. So when we talk about first-generation students, it is important to acknowledge that not all paths look the same. But despite these differences, we all share one common goal: to use education as a means of building a better future. So when I see this group, I think about all the things you all may be going through. The all-nighters, having to juggle courses in a quarter, some of you even balancing an internship or a job, plus all the other things that life may throw at you. For example, being a college student while surviving a global pandemic. Props to you all. I would say though, that my path towards graduation was not always a smooth sailing. When I applied to UCSD, I came in as a computer science major. And let me tell you, I was completely clueless about the field or careers opportunities in computer science. I remember during my first quarter, I struggled to keep up with my intro courses. It was later that I found out that a lot of my classmates had already completed coding boot camps prior to coming to UCSD, and some of them had taken AP Computer Science and AP Statistics. That's when I felt I was already behind. Despite my efforts, I eventually realized that this major was not what I was expecting, and then I went on this journey of self-discovery and officially switched my major to communications. After a few quarters, I took a few courses, then I considered switching to sociology, and the story goes on. I finally ended up declaring a major in human development with the goal of becoming a child psychologist, and guess what happened after that? Spoiler alert, I did not become a psychologist. I remember as graduation approached, I realized that I hadn't done enough to prepare for what came next. Like many first-year students, I was focused on making it to graduation, that I hadn't given much thought about going to graduate school or defining my career path. See, to me, the fact that I made it here was already a huge deal. I remember that in my mind, my goal was to graduate from UCSD. I did have a few friends who were more practical than I was, and they looked into the GREs, taking the LSATs, but I know I personally didn't look into it. I was more focused on the now. I tried balancing my part-time job, my current semester grades, and my personal life. See, I share my story as an undecided first-generation student, definitely not to scare you about making the wrong decisions, but instead to encourage you to explore your interests. That it is okay to learn as you go. If there's something to learn from my experience is that you have a ton of resources available to help you navigate these complex decisions. For example, getting the opportunity to meet with a first-gen success coach, or dropping by the Career Services Center to help you explore your career interests. For some of us, pursuing higher education is a game changer. I often reflect on the value that education has contributed to my life and how it allowed me to break and still break generational cycles. Education has opened doors of opportunities that I never thought would be possible, like studying abroad. This life-changing experience allowed me to spend 6 months in Madrid with a group of 20 plus UC students from all over California, many of whom were also first gen like myself. We had the opportunity to travel to different countries, explore museums, and meet people from all over the world. This was definitely an experience that I will remember forever, and that I'm grateful that education made that possible for me. So if you're able to and the opportunity arises, I would give it 5 stars and highly recommend. I would say though that one of my most memorable experiences was my graduation weekend. That's when I had the honor of bringing my entire family onto campus to celebrate with me. It was a special occasion, not just because I was receiving my degree, but because it was the first time my parents had ever set foot at UCSD. As I stood on that stage during my Rasagra speech, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for everything my parents had done to get me to that moment. I remember I choked back in tears when I thanked my dad for his incredible sacrifice in leaving everything behind when he was just a young man, all in the name of providing for his family. I thought about the long hours he spent working in construction, that backbreaking labor he endured day in and day out. And yet, despite all that, he never gave up. He never lost sight of the so-called American dream, a dream that he knew would one day become reality for his children. And then there was my mom, a pillar of strength and resilience. After my parents separated, she was left to support my sister and I on her own. And so she would wake up at 4 a.m. every morning to work as a baker at the local Northgate market, putting in long hours to make ends meet. She never complained. She never asked for anything in return. All she wanted to see was for her children to succeed. So I remember standing there on that stage with my parents, beaming with pride in the audience, and I knew at that specific moment that I had paid back a small portion of all their sacrifices. And while this would have been a perfect, happy ending, the story did not end there. Once I graduated, I entered the real world. I realized that my identity as a first gen also played a role in my professional development. For example, one of the challenges I faced early on in my career was not knowing what I wanted to do when I grew up. See, I thought picking a major was hard. Now imagine actually getting to decide what you wanted to do as a career. And to be quite honest, I'm still figuring that out. I've learned that with every milestone I've reached and every new opportunity I step into, I end up discovering other possibilities and potential career paths. If there's one thing I've learned on this journey is that there's always room for exploration and opportunities for innovation. I remember attending a conference a few years back, and our keynote speaker actually shared an insight that stuck with me. Research shows that there is a great percentage of jobs of the future that have not been invented yet. So that was music to my ears. I'm a true believer of that. I've enjoyed my career growth because it has allowed me to explore and make transitions as I go. This led me to do a career pivot into the technology sector at the age of 28. These opportunities have allowed me to work with teams across the globe, and they've allowed me to develop one of my passions, which is to help increase the representation of folks like us in today's workforce. Let me tell you, that has been one of the proudest achievements of my career. So I also want to give credit where it's due, because of course, I know that I didn't figure it all out by myself. I can honestly say that I stand on the shoulders of remarkable mentors, managers, and peers who invested their time in my own growth. It was because of the connections I made and the inspiring stories of folks who share similar backgrounds as mine that I'm still learning how to navigate the professional environment. It actually wasn't until a few years ago that I was introduced to the concepts of mentors and sponsors. See, I knew that a mentor was someone who you could ask for advice, perhaps someone working in the same field as you or a field that you aspire to get into. But a sponsor is someone who is actively advocating for you, someone who's not afraid to drop your name in a room full of opportunities, and someone who can help you land those opportunities. I can tell you my mind was blown. I realized that I still had a long way to go in my career development, and that my commitment to wanting to lend a hand to those coming after me had just gained a new meaning. Shortly after, I started thinking strategically about who I wanted to ask for help and who I should build relationships with that could potentially develop into sponsorships. So my small piece of advice is to start networking early on and look for mentors and why not potential sponsors. You don't have to wait until you graduate to start networking like I did. The connections I've made here at UCSD have opened doors even when I moved across the US. You'd be surprised to find out how many folks out there are genuinely interested in sharing their experience, offer advice, or give you tips to learn how they got to where they are. And even if they don't have time to commit to a formal mentorship relationship, they still may be able to introduce you to someone in their network. Trust me, I know it can be difficult sometimes for some of us to ask for help, but you never know who you'll meet who can make a difference in your future. As first-gen students and professionals, we often feel the pressure to compare our timelines to those timelines of others. But the truth is, everyone's journey is different. When I was preparing for graduation, I had a lot of preconceived notions of all the checkboxes I needed to cross before I reached success. But I've learned that success is not just about checking off boxes or following a set timeline. I know personally I cannot compare my own journey to that of my parents, or I can't even compare my journey to that of my younger sister. It's all about defining your own meaning of success based on your values, your passions, and your goals. That is the beauty of being trailblazers. We get to choose what success means to us. Another important thing to remember is that success looks different for everyone. It's not just about getting the grades or landing a high-paying job or getting the highest GPA. Success can mean pursuing that career that you are passionate about, giving back to your community, or being happy and fulfilled in your own personal life. So as you navigate the pressure to succeed, I encourage you to take a step back and ask yourself, what does success mean to me? What are my values, my passions, my goals? And how can I pursue those things in a way that feel authentic and true to who I am? Remember that you're capable of achieving great things, but you don't have to do it all alone. So a piece of advice is to trust the timing of your life. Take the time to celebrate the small and the big wins along the way, and don't be afraid of redefining the definition of success. So as you prepare for life after graduation and start looking for your next move, you will go through many interviews in the future. Whether it's an interview for an internship, a job, or a graduate program, you will be tasked with being able to introduce yourself and tell your story. As someone who interviews people for a living, I usually get like 30 to 45 minutes to try to get to know a candidate, their skills, and their potential. But you think I can do that in 30 minutes? Of course not. As a talent acquisition professional, a frequent question I ask is, can you tell me a bit about yourself? And you may find yourself highlighting the qualities that makes us first gens valuable assets. To me, the experience of being first gen is a synonym of resilience, grit, being able to figure things out, being great at dealing with ambiguity, and embracing innovation. First gen professionals have to navigate unfamiliar terrain, overcome obstacles, and break barriers to succeed. And that's what makes us valuable to any space we join. I mean, how do you explain to an interviewer that you learned how to fill out checks at the age of 13? That's figure out factor, right? How do you explain that you were on the phone with a customer service rep, asking why your mom's phone bill came higher this month at the age of 15? That's great phone skills at the age of 15, right? How do you explain that you were translating medical and legal documents for your parents at the age of 14? They say that first gens are built differently. And I am convinced that any organization, team, or program will be fortunate to have you. This is important because guess who will be the next generation of educators, politicians, engineers, entrepreneurs, healthcare providers, innovators, you name it. It will be you. So I want to recognize and give thanks to those spaces that provided me support and those that will continue to support your growth, because they're investing their time and resources to help students like you and I to reach our full potential. Because when you empower first gens to explore, to choose their paths, and you challenge them, you're giving them the tools to succeed. That, combined with all the other factors that make first gens individuals unique, will set you up to achieve more than you can imagine. So as I reach my 10-year mark since graduation, I often find myself beaming with pride as I look around my group of first-gen friends that now have become family. We still continue to celebrate each other's milestones, from having children, getting married, to graduations and starting new businesses. These trailblazers are now accomplished attorneys who are the youngest in their firms, female engineers leading construction projects in male-predominant fields, healthcare heroes saving lives during the pandemic, amongst other successful career journeys. So before I wrap up, let me ask you something. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? As you ponder on that question, I look up to all of you, and I can only imagine how many stories fill up this room, and what your success stories would look like in 10 years. I want to say this. Your experiences and challenges are what make you unique, and they're also what make you strong. You have resilience and determination that cannot be taught in the classroom. And no matter what obstacles you may face along the way, you have what it takes to achieve them and to achieve your goals. So keep pushing forward, keep learning, and keep believing in yourself. You are capable of achieving great things, and I can't wait to see what you'll accomplish next. With that, I want to thank you all for your time and for having me this morning. So go first, Gen China.
Let's give Oscar another round of applause. Maybe stand up. Can we stand up? Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for that inspiring speech, Oscar. It was really great. Asking myself where I see myself in 10 years is definitely nerve-wracking, but I know with my strength and resiliency as a first-gen student, I'll be okay. So we are a little ahead of schedule before the next workshop. So our next workshop is at 11. So I think because it is a smaller, more intimate crowd, I need to do this to y'all. But what does being first gen mean to you? How about Sarah? I just made eye contact with you. With me. Oh, you know what? The tech guy hook me up too. How about we testing? We're gonna hear from Sarah what being first gen means. Let's give it up for Sarah.